And now, you're tuned into RBLR, the home of Tampa Bay's Reveler Sports.
This is your RBLR Rays podcast. I'm your host, Zach Powell, along with my co-host, Pat Davenport. Pat, are you hyped as I am after that?
Oh, Alex Jackson, hype metal song. If you guys don't tune in live to these, you need to get here like straight away. As soon as the notification on your phone says RBLR Rays are live, because our producer, Eureka, if you didn't see it or hear it, just created a Alex Jackson metal anthem that played before the show went live. And you could only hear that if you get there super early. And it was maybe the best thing that's ever happened in the history of Rays Discourse.
And like I tell you guys every week, like, subscribe. I don't just do that for no reason. I am doing it for your own benefit. So if you are here and you enjoyed that and you enjoyed this show, give us a like, subscribe, hit the follow button on all the socials, because if you do, you get excellent content like that. It is for your literal own benefit to like and subscribe. We appreciate you all for being here. If you're here for the first time, thank you for being here. You just got to hear something absolutely fantastic, and you're going to hear something even better right now, which is the RBLR Rays podcast, where we're going to talk about the week that was. It's been another kind of odd, scuffling week. We're not running away from it. We're going to talk about it. It happened. We're going to talk about it. And following that, what is the Rays outlook going to be as we go kind of forward into the dreaded trade deadline? We've all heard the talks, we've heard the articles. What are the Rays going to do? We're going to talk about it. So what are if you just kind of were going to sum up this last week in Rays baseball, what would your like 1-2 sentence sum up with the last week and a half or so of Rays baseball be?
I can sum it up in a question.
Mm-hmm.
You seen every other week?
Yeah.
Pretty much. I mean, yeah. It's been what we've been doing every week, where we have a series where we pull out some gutsy wins, some tight, close wins, make up the feel good factor, where we took a good series against the Cubs, and then we like take all of that momentum, we carry it into another series where we just get absolutely blown apart. And it does nothing good for our run differential, which I don't believe is a real.
It doesn't matter.
No, it's not a massive indicator of overall performance. I would say, I think it can give like a very basic picture, but the Marlins last year were a playoff team and like barely scraped a positive run differential. I think they may have even had a negative run differential. So like it doesn't really matter. It's not like we're playing for goal difference like my boys England tonight. It's just like, but every week it seems like we're like, yo, this series was really good. This will be the turning point. We got out some gutsy wins. We produced a walk-off. We've held on to a tight save. Surely we can take that, and that will be the turning point. And then we face a good team with a good lineup, and then we give up 7 runs. We give up 9 runs. We give up 8 runs. And we've done this every week of the season, it feels like, apart from that one great week where we debuted the Sky Rays jerseys, where we had a really good week. But pretty much every other week it's just been that over and over, and I feel like I'm stuck in Groundhog Day. How have you felt about this week of Rays baseball?
Yeah, it has been a unfortunate experience. It's the only way that I can put it, because there are good things seemingly in every game, in every series. We could say that looks like something is positive, whether it's Randy Arozarena starting to heat up, Brandon Lau starting to heat up, good, better performances from the bullpen. Even like in this last series against the Braves, despite a rough start from Zach Littell, the bullpen then went 6 innings, no earned runs after that. So it's like there are good things all throughout, but there's just 1 or 2 unfortunate performances, it feels like, in every game that just kind of put us behind the 8 ball, and we haven't been able to make it back up. And to add on to what you said about run differential, I think it especially doesn't matter when you look at the Rays, especially because if you follow the team and you understand their philosophy, they're willing to punt on games, which maybe not every team is willing to do, but they are willing to sacrifice a game to gain, a few innings back for their high leverage bullpen arms. So they are willing to say, hey, Erasmo, go take this, or whomever that we brought up from Durham that day or that week to take some innings and say, you go out there, you eat some innings, you take it on the chin a little bit, and that's going to inflate your run differential. But I don't think it really is an accurate encapsulation of how the team has played, because you only got to win by one. I've always thought run differential is kind of a stupid stat. It doesn't matter. Most of the teams with really inflated run differentials I've played some bad teams and have just inflated them over a couple of bad games. Like even the Rays, I think last year had a really, really amazing run differential. We were just crushing bad teams early, and we crushed a lot of bad teams throughout the year that inflated that run differential. So I don't really think that run differential matters. I don't know why people would.
No, I don't even really understand how you can, like, Pythagorean win-loss record. I think it's the most bogus, made-up stat in existence.
It's stupid, because you were saying, well, yeah, you scored this many runs and you allowed this many runs. This means you should have won this many. That's not how baseball works. If you've watched a baseball game, I remember, this is college, but I remember last year in the College World Series, I think there were like 15 runs scored by the winning team in like each game of the series, and game went to 3 games. So it's like people, like they literally took turns blowing each other out, and then blew each other out in the last game too. So it's like, that's how baseball goes. It doesn't necessarily mean that one team is way better than the other. It's just, that's how baseball goes sometimes. And run differential, it's like pitching wins. Like you can't make any kind of like real educated assertion about the quality of a player or a team based on a stat like that, because it's just arbitrary.
Right, exactly. I mean, I would rather win the World Series by winning our 4 games 4-3 and then losing the rest 10-0, because we'd still win the World Series, right?
Because it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter how many you lose by. You're right. It is not football or soccer. It does not matter how many you lose by. It doesn't matter. It just, if you win a game or lose a game, you got to play the next one. Doesn't matter how many runs. You can't bring runs over from the previous day. So,
and it was
anyway,
an excellent point that you made about the Rays punting games. That when they see a game is out of their reach, they will not bring out their A guys to try and lock down the 5-run deficit. You know what I mean? Like, they'll go, we'll throw Erasmo out there, like you said, and just try and see what happens. Because if we win, we're lucky to do it. If not, then we weren't going to win anyway.
Yeah, and this is a team that has over the years had some bad experiences with overloading reliever arms, and we're seeing a lot of teams overload reliever arms because they're just trying to win every single game. And I understand that mindset. I would rather us do it that way personally, because it make me feel better. But I think, as much as I don't like it on a game in, game out basis, I think it's a more efficient way to run a baseball team, because you're putting priority on your high leverage arms, which you are going to need, especially down the stretch. So, I mean, while I don't necessarily like the way that the Rays do it, I think it is the right way to do it, sort of objectively.
Yeah, I completely agree with that. All right. Do you want to go break this down series by series, or would you rather just kind of give an encapsulation on the week of a whole?
Well, I mean, I think we can do just kind of like one big thing. But like, what's like, if we're looking at the Orioles series, just to wrap it up, what is your big takeaway from that Orioles series?
The Orioles are a better team than us. Right now. They have pretty much their full roster firing on all cylinders. Their lineup is absolutely ridiculous and loaded with top talent. Like, sometimes the Rays were making some really good pitches and they were still getting hit out of the park. Adley's made a habit out of swinging at stuff that had no right to even make it out of the infield and hitting it out of the park. Gunnar Henderson is seeing the baseball like a beach ball. So, like, the pitchers did not come out looking great in that series, but also their hitters are completely locked in and a terrifying lineup. And then in terms of our offensive performance, it's kind of been this way all year, that the offense hasn't really been able to rally to put up crooked numbers as much as you'd want them to. I mean, 3 runs, no runs, 2 runs, 2 runs is not it's not ideal. We saw some people start to get better, but we've also seen some people fall off. So it's kind of just like trying to get consistency out of our lineup has been a real struggle as well.
Yeah, and I think that that's kind of been where a lot of the frustration of this season has been, is that you've got guys that are playing well on like a series by series or a week by week basis, but it doesn't feel like we can get everybody all playing well at the same time. Like Bilal will get hot, and then Yanni will perform poorly, or Randy will perform poorly, and then all of a sudden Randy and J-Lo are hot, but then Bilal's having a tough game. So that's kind of what it's felt like all season, where you just can't get everybody all going at the same time. And that has led to some very like frustrating innings where you have guys on base and you have opportunities and you can't cash in. I think that is the most frustrating brand of baseball to watch, where you can't really say the offense is terrible because they're putting guys on base and they're getting guys in position to score. You're just not turning them in. You're just not like taking advantage of the opportunities. And that's really frustrating because it's not like you're just getting no hit every time, which we've had a couple games where that's happened and we're not putting guys on base. We've also had a lot of games where guys have been on base. Like we've had opportunities and we're just not cashing them in. And I think that's really, really frustrating to watch. And I think it feeds into why this season has felt so hard to watch as a Rays fan. It's because we talked about the run differential, all that. We could have won more games than we have. There were the opportunities were there. It's not like we're getting blown out every single time. There are opportunities in a lot of these games for us to win, and we just haven't been making it happen.
Yeah. Can I make an interesting observation? The Rays and the Orioles have polar opposite lineups right now, because the Rays are kind of middle of the pack in terms of on-base percentage as a team. But their slugging percentage, they're third worst in the big leagues. So like the extra base hits aren't really coming. We've got a lot of contact infield single type guys.
Yeah.
The Orioles, you won't believe this, but the Orioles, hold on, I've lost my place. The Orioles, again, middle of the pack in terms of on-base percentage, but the difference, way ahead in slugging percentage. So, like, we've got very similar on-base percentage to the Orioles, but the key difference, in fact, we've got with the Orioles on-base percentage is 309, ours is 306. But the difference is the hits that they're getting are doubles or home runs, while ours are singles. And a double is far more likely to bring a run in with a runner on first than another single. And it's about how well can you string hits together. The Rays are constantly having to string lots of hits together to score runs because they aren't finding gaps and they're not hitting home runs, which is instant runs. So they're constantly having to get a walk and then a single and then another single. And that's way harder to do than single home run. So I feel like the lack of power is something that's really, really hurt the Rays when you compare them to the Orioles, which is really strange because apart from Luke Raley, we've got essentially the same bats as we did last year that were really good at hitting for power.
And I think that's kind of where, again, we talk about where the frustration's coming from as a fan this season. That's it. Like, when you look at the way the team is constructed, it's not different really at all. Like, the guys are there, and now they're healthy. So now you're like, okay, like, what's going on? And I think the truth of it is they've just played so few games together as a unit. And I think the more they get to play together, the better it will be. But like, even like just looking at the Atlanta series, we're finding out from, I think Ryan Bass tweeted it earlier today, that they've been dealing with the flu. So it's like nothing can go right. It's always something is like somebody's hurt or somebody's like Randy was like hurt a little bit for a few days. So he was out of the lineup and he's not very good at pitch hitting. So he was just getting in and pitch hitting and like not really doing much. So like, it's just, we just can't get some consistency going. And that's kind of what the thing that will turn this team around to me is a little bit of consistency, a little bit of everybody in the lineup that's supposed to be there, a little bit of everybody in the rotation that's supposed to be there, a little bit of everybody in the bullpen that's supposed to be there. And we're finally getting back to that. Poche has been back now and been healthy. He's pitched well since coming back off the IL. And you're getting all of and everybody's pretty much ready to go on the major league level as far as the hitting goes. Everybody's there. And the starters are kind of on their way back. We'll talk a little bit more about that later. But when I look at this Baltimore series, the thing that stands out to me is that I said it before the year, this team is not going to regress. Like, a lot of people were predicting their offense to regress. And I said in the preseason, I don't think so. But I think they're still going to be really, really good offensively. I said their pitching might be the issue. And it hasn't been so far, but they've started to, accrue a few more pitching injuries as the season has gone on, and it hasn't really affected them yet. But we're going to see. One of the things that's kind of interesting looking at these two teams, of the Rays' top relievers that we consider like the top of their line, which is like Fairbanks, Jason Adam, Garrett Clevenger, Poche. None of them are above 30 innings pitched. When you look over at the Orioles and their top relievers, a lot of them are either at or above. Kimbrel's the only one of their top guys that's below. But then you've got guys like Jacob Webb and Yenier Cano. They're all above 30 innings pitched. So those guys are getting a lot of use in the Baltimore bullpen. And I wonder, as they accrue more starting, because Bradish has now gone to the IL for the Orioles, what will that look like for them going forward, having to rely more on those high leverage relievers that they've already been relying on a lot? It'll be interesting to see how they handle it. But they're better than us right now. But and they're going to still be really good offensively. I do wonder what the pitching is going to look like at the end of the year, though.
Yeah, I mean, it feels like nothing seems to go wrong for this Orioles team, which has been like nobody has it harder than us at the moment. It feels like everything that could go wrong is going wrong, and everything that could go right is going right for the Orioles. The only thing that went wrong for them was they destroyed Felix Bautista's elbow. And on that note, like you said, that could very much happen again. Kyle Bradish's elbow is looking sore, and if Yenier Cano, if Craig Kimbrel, if Webb gets hurt, then things could spiral very quickly. They're still, despite how good this Orioles team is, they're still actually chasing the Yankees as well, who have also been clicking on all cylinders. So if they start to fall down, you never know. Maybe that could be an opportunity for the Rays to strike.
Yeah, and we hope it is. And we hope that we're going to see more series like the next series of this last week, and that's the Cubs series, where things went a little bit better than the Orioles series.
Absolutely. I mean, we had the big walk-off in game one. Brandon Lau looking great off Hector Neris. Really great at-bat that ended in a massive 3-run home run. Huge win. Much needed win after, a mop from the Orioles. And then really, heartbreaking, just missed out on game two on that one. Right in it till the end, really, really close, just couldn't quite bring it over the line.
Super fun that they had Blowout up again against Hector Neris with runners on with a chance to win it. I thought it was coming. I thought, because it was not a super long at bat, but it was long enough that I thought maybe this is it. Just it wasn't meant to be, but that would have been really fun. But then, to finish it up with a nice close win to finish out the series, to get a series win, it felt really good. It felt like what the team needed really, really badly, off of perhaps the best, maybe this is a little preview, but one of the best pitching performances we've seen in a little while from a Rays starter.
Yeah, maybe the best pitching performance of the year so far.
I don't know. I mean, it could be.
We have to pull up the game logs to really see. But it's definitely up there. It's probably up there with Alexander's game.
Yeah, that's probably the only one that I would say is better, is Alexander's almost perfect game. Yeah.
Yeah. And again, gritty, like Bradley carried us most of the way. And then we had a bit of rough luck on the defense that's allowed the Cubs to get back in it. But then Fairbanks just locked it down, got us there, got us over the line. And you felt really good off the back of that series. You were taking those close games and being right there, like on the verge of sweeping the Cubs in game, if game two went our way. Felt really, really good. And again, you go, well, this could be one of the several times where we could turn a corner, which was great. And again, the one thing I won't question about this team is the mentality of the team. the mentality of this team is tremendous, maybe better than the teams that won 100 games and the better than the teams that, have been to the playoffs the past 5 years. This team never gives up. Like, even when they're down 6-0, they'll rally for 3 in the ninth. They're not going to lay down and just see out the game. They are really trying every single game. Mentality monsters. And that stands you in good stead if we can stay in it in the latter stages of the season. You would count on them to perform much better in high leverage games later in the season because of what we've seen so far.
Yeah, and I think if you look ahead to the Atlanta series a little bit, even that first game, which was a 7-3 loss, in the ninth inning, they had 2 guys on and all it would have taken is one nice hit from Yandy, which was kind of what it's all you could have asked for. 2 guys on, Yandy up, Bilal on deck. What more can you ask for with a chance to win the game? So again, they're not packing it in. They're putting themselves in positions to win baseball games as much as they can. It's just not always it doesn't always work out. It's baseball. And I think that's kind of been the frustrating part as I'm saying frustrating a lot because it has been. As a Rays fan, this has been a really frustrating season to watch. I'm a very optimistic guy, all across the board. I'm very optimistic about the team because I think they've given us reason to be. But I have had a tough time watching games sometimes this year. I'm going to be honest. It's been frustrating to watch this team with all these guys that I know are good not perform up to the expectations that we see. And part of it, part of my continued optimism is because, if you, go tell me that Littell start is, indicative of how he's played this year, how he's pitched this year. It's just not. It just isn't. So it's okay, sometimes it's just going to happen. It's and it feels like it's just kind of happened a lot to start the year. It's this is not who we are. At the beginning of the year, we were walking guys, and it's that's not who we are. And then we've been inconsistent offensively, and it's that's not who we are. And then we've had some unfortunately inconsistent starting pitching performances recently, and that's not who we are. So it's just kind of I don't know what the turning point's going to be for this year, but I feel like it has to come because it's not we're getting beat in the ways that's the preseason. We were well, if we have a bad season, it's going to be because of this. That's really not what's happened. If you had told me if we got here and the starting pitching just did not work out at all and it was terrible all year, I've been well, we kind of if Littell just didn't work out and Savali just didn't work out all season long and we got here and that's why we were bad.
And this wasn't the rotation that this was this is a bridge rotation for 2025 because we're working our main guys back.
Right. And if we were bad and that's what the reason was, I'd be whatever, man, that's just kind of the way it is. But we've been bad and we've lost games for bad defense. We've lost some games because of bad defense. It's that's not the Rays. So the reason why I have hope that we're going to turn this around is because we're losing for reasons that are not reasons the Rays lose. So it's in my mind, it's well, they're going to turn this around and the season is not over. There are a lot of games left to be played. It feels long because we've been sitting through this slog, but there are so many baseball games left to be played in this season. So many baseball games left. And while, yes, we are 5 games out, and we're going to talk about it in a minute, we're 5 games out of a playoff spot. But we're 5 games out of a playoff spot in June. So much could happen between now and September. So it's been frustrating to watch. And this series was kind of another encapsulation of why I think this team can turn it around, because they do have that heart and they do have guys that can get it done in the biggest moments. It just hasn't been happening on a consistent basis so far this season.
Yeah, that's it. It's just been getting everything to work in tandem with each other. It's when the rotation's been bad, the offense has been better, but then when the offense is bad, then the rotation is good, and then the bullpen was bad for a bit, but then the bullpen got good, and we can't have a good bullpen day and a good starting pitcher day at the same time too often. And then when we do, it's that meme where you've got the 3 select things, and then when you click on the third one of them goes away. We can't seem to have a good offense day, rotation day, and bullpen day at the same time. One of them is not going to work, and that is baseball, because there's so much variance in a baseball game and a baseball team at large, and it feels like we're just hitting all the low end variance stuff on everything except Isaac Paredes. We're getting if the results are from like here to here, we're always hitting like the low end of the spectrum every time.
Yeah.
Of like, hey, your number could be anywhere between 100 and 0, and we keep hitting like 8.
Yeah, and I just believe that they're going to eventually turn it around. If we look ahead to if we start talking about the Atlanta series, like that is not what I expect from this team. Like Littell getting absolutely rocked in the first game, and then just kind of a like Clevenger giving up a 3-run home run. Like that's just not Rays baseball. It's just not the performances we've seen from these guys. Like, and Pepio has been fairly consistent recently, and he gets tagged for 5 runs. And then
He looks
Clevenger
good
gives up.
though. He looks good through like the first 4, and then once he gave up that first home run, it all fell apart from there.
Yeah, and that's one of the things we've been talking about positively for him. It's like he's kind of figured that part out, and he's been more consistent. But we forget sometimes how young he is because of how well he's been pitching. He's a young guy. He's gonna have bad starts, and it was just unfortunate that we like have strung 2 of maybe our like those 2 starting pitchers, maybe some of their worst starts like back to back. Because like I mean like Pepio has had some rough runs, giving up starts, but like not getting through the 5th is tough for him. They see you. That's usually what we expect. And giving up 3 home runs is just not great. And then just having maybe Clevenger's one of his worst performances of the year, giving up a 3-run bomb. Like that's just like I don't even have anything else to say. It's just like that was like that. Like if we talk about like the 50 games you're gonna lose, yeah, we were gonna lose both of those.
Yeah. If you want reason for optimism, I would even point to what the Braves did. And this is going to sound crazy, but the Braves offense has Ozzy Albies, Marcell Ozuna, Matt Olson, Austin Riley, Sean Murphy, when he's healthy, Acuna.
Yeah.
All excellent players. The Braves have had one of the worst offenses in the league so far this year.
Yeah.
Sean Murphy's been hitting 143. Matt Olson hasn't been hitting that well. The only person that's been really consistent is Ozuna. Whoa, a bunch of guys that have historically hit well, except one guy that's doing really, really well. Whoa, that sounds familiar. Oh, did they just explode for 9 runs in the yesterday and then like 7 runs the game before and are suddenly starting to put their offense back together? Oh, so it is possible. We're just waiting for a game that could boost the confidence of this lineup, like a game where we can put up 7 runs. Like I feel like that's what we're begging for as a team, just like a game where things go right and just let the team like relax for a minute.
Yeah, and I think that's kind of that's maybe that's just a really good point, because I think that's kind of the blueprint for what a return to form is going to look like for the Rays. Currently speaking, the Braves have 6 guys hitting above 100 WRC plus on the season. The Rays have 8, and Brandon Lau's at a 99, so he's really close. So it's almost eerily similar, the guys, like the comparison there. And then you've also got, young guys in both squads that are sure trying to make a name for themselves a little bit. Like you've got Richie Palacios is playing well, and then you've got Jared Kelenic who's finally starting to turn things around a little bit. So it is a very similar comparison between the 2 teams. I really do think we could see a turnaround very similar to what we just saw from the Braves. And it helps that they're at home. They've been scuffling for a while. They've been really waiting for this breakout, and they got 2 good performances from their starters as well, so that helped.
Yeah, absolutely. I guess the Braves have a slightly better floor than the Rays, so that's why they've got like a better record. But they've been going through an eerily similar stretch to the Rays, just with like a slightly higher floor, because like the guys on their roster as like a baseline are more established and like a bit better. But like it's so similar, and they're starting to turn it around. And even though they've been unsatisfied with how this season is going, they're starting to put it together. So it is totally possible, if you have a roster full of good players, which we do, that all it takes is a series that can like where you can get a couple of comfy wins. And I will always emphasize the value of comfy wins. We haven't had any since like April. We just need like a series where we like, let's say the Pirates next weekend. If we can go to Pittsburgh and like win a couple of games 6-1, like all of a sudden Like you'll start to go, hold on, maybe we can put a run together here. But right now, because the wins are so close, you never feel like, yeah, this team's going on a run. You just feel like, whew, we just managed to scrape a win out there. And you want to be able to relax sometimes, and that's not been able to happen yet.
If you're out there right now and you look at your wardrobe every single day to choose an outfit, and you feel like you're scrambling every single time, like you're barely picking out something good because you don't know what to wear, you're just kind of stressed every single time you're choosing what you want to go out and show off to the world. I have a solution for you. You want some comfy wins for your wardrobe? I can tell you exactly where to get it. It's shop.rblrsports.com. Rowdies, Bucks, Lightning, Rays. The best Tampa Bay sports teams, the best Tampa Bay sports merch out there. Shop.rblrsports.com. 10% off everything there. Promo code FLAPPY, FLAPPY. Shop.rblrsports.com.
Yeah, it's I forgot to think of a funny joke.
Well, I've got a bit of a funny joke for you, and it's not necessarily a funny joke, but it is kind of amusing, and that is going into our RBL arm and RBL at of the week. We've got some unexpected characters that are in some of those spots. Let's go with we'll start with the most expected one. You probably have already figured this one out, but what's our RBL arm of the week this week, Pat?
Our RBL arm of the week goes to the big Mahal himself, Taj Bradley. Taj Bradley, excellent, excellent, excellent. We alluded it to it earlier in the show, that how good Taj was in his start earlier against the Cubs. He went 7 innings, 0 earned runs. He got let down a little bit by his defense, but neither of those runs were charged as earned runs to him. So he's feeling really good about that. He struck out a whole load of guys as well. I think he got to double digits. So, absolutely outstanding. I think it's up there with Tyler Alexander for best start of the season. And it just goes to show, when Taj is not battling command and not nibbling and just attacking the zone with his stuff, what he is capable of. And for me, I could see a lot of Blake Snell in him, just, I guess, without the kind of true out pitch that Blake Snell could get on his slider and curve.
Yeah, I mean, if you look at the game score for that game, it was a 76, which is really good. It's not like top echelon ever, but it is a really nice game score for that game. 7 innings pitched, 3 hits, 2 runs not earned, 11 strikeouts. It was a performance that we needed really badly. We needed a starter to go out there and dominate, and more so than even just dominating as far as preventing runs. Getting 7 innings out of a starter is just so nice to get that lengthy start with high quality as well. It was great to see. It's fun to see. One of the key things from that outing, 2 of his pitches were in the zone 50% of the time. It's something, if you look back over his starts, he has struggled. He's usually getting 1 pitch in the zone 50% of the time. He's usually getting his fastball or his splitter in the zone 50% of the time, but last start he got them both in the zone 50% of the time, keeping himself in the zone, limiting the walks, putting pressure on the hitters to swing, to make something out of his pitches, is resulted in a lot of whiffs and in a lot of good at-bats where the hitters were uncomfortable, and resulted in just a great start overall from Taj. So Taj Bradley is our RBL arm of the week.
Absolutely. I mean, he generated half an FWAR. 0.4 FWAR from just that start.
Crazy.
If you can do that every time, you do that 30 times, you're looking at 14, 13 WAR season.
So that's all we need. We just need a couple of those.
Exactly. Just if you could do that every time, Taj, you'll win the Cy Young and be declared the greatest pitcher of all time. All right, let's talk about RBL bat of the week. We've actually got a split decision on this one. Both of them are utterly ridiculous. Zach, I will let you go first. Who is your bat of the week?
My bat of the week is somebody that I didn't even know was going to be on this team until right before the season starts. It's Benny Biceps, having a 137 WRC plus. If you have heard the numbers we usually give for the bat of the week, you will notice that is a little bit low, but who cares? He hits a 137 WRC plus, put up 2 F4 over 0.2 F4, so like 0.2 F4s. It's close to 2-ish. He has been kind of an unexpected, like, awesome thing from this season that I did not ever like think was going to happen. That the guy who was like Garrett Cole's personal catcher in New York is now here and like providing value at the catching spot. And it's like, okay, sure, whatever, that's fine. And he had a nice week, and he's been pretty okay all season long. It's nice to see him have a good week. But it's a little unfortunate because it really was like it was good, but it was kind of the best of a rough bunch. But it's okay. Ben Rortvet's the bat of the week for me.
I mean, yeah. I mean, we have come to learn that Ben Rortvet has no power at all, but he is still
none whatsoever.
Super productive and super helpful behind the plate, which is all you can really ask for. He's still 11th in the American League in catcher F4. And do you know what? We said it back in April. I'll say it again. Who has a higher F4, Ben Rortvet or Adley Rutschman? It's Ben Rortvet.
It's an incredible stat. It's one of my favorite stats of this year. It's outstanding.
Like in April, at least you can go, it's only April. Like that'll work itself out. But no, we are almost halfway through the season, and Ben Rortvet still has more WAR than Adley Rutschman. Oh no, what's happened? What's happened there?
I
don't understand. That's baseball.
Baseball.
That's
baseball.
Other people.
That's baseball. Who is your
go.
RBL of the week? Since we're talking about that's baseball.
I'm gonna say it with my full chest. It's Alex Jackson. Alex Jackson is the bat of the week, people. He is the bat of the week. I can't believe I'm saying this. I can't believe I'm saying this. Things that have went well for Alex Jackson is when he first came up is that he looked completely overmatched at the plate and completely clueless at the plate. And we were like, oh God, this guy does not have it. I think he became a bit of a meme around Rays baseball, really. But you won't believe it. But his swing decisions have been tracking really well over the past week or so. He's been chasing less. He's been swinging at stuff in the zone more. His contact percentage has been going up. He's been putting together better at-bats, and it has finally yielded some dividends. His approach at the plate is much improved as he's got used to major league pitching, velocity, etc. And he put up an insane 208 WRC plus on the year. He hit his first home run of the season and was just really good, actually. He was our best hitter this week by WRC plus metrics. So, wow, Alex Jackson, take a bow. I can't believe it.
He had the highest walk rate on the team this last week. He had the third lowest K rate on the team this last week. It was a good week. Like, as much as it's weird to say, 208 WRC plus.
Yeah, he had an OPS over 1,000.
He had a good week, and if he can somehow continue this kind of performance, continue this positive movement in the right direction from the catching position, that's all we can really ask for. Like, the Rays view catching as you need to be good at defense, and he's had some kind of unfortunate defensive highlights from like fielding perspectives, like not really like actually catching, but like playing the position, like with holding on to the balls and for tagging. Like, he's had some unfortunate looks, but otherwise defensively behind the plate, he's been really good. So he's doing what the Rays want out of the catching spot. And now he's providing a little bit of offense. It's kind of exactly what the Rays want. It's just unfortunate because he looked so bad for the first few weeks. No matter what he does, his stats are going to look kind of bad, but he is definitely, like, if you were to start his statistics now and run them through the end of the year, I'd wager you they're going to be not too terrible. Like, they're going to be okay. And that's really all you need from the catching position if you're the Rays.
If Jackson and Rortvet are this good, does Pinto ever find a way back up to the major league team?
I mean, I don't think Rortvedt, like the thing with Rortvedt is he's been pretty good behind the dish and he's been pretty good with the bat, but he's such a low, like such a low ceiling guy. I think the Rays will eventually just trade him or, get, maybe at the deadline look at a prospect for him because Pinto has the potential to be like Mike Zunino ish, like type of guy where he's got a lot of power and really good defense. So and I don't think they're going to give up on that because Rortvedt, like this is kind of his best case scenario, what he's doing right now. Light hitting, pretty good defense. That's kind of it for him. So I expect them to eventually move Rortvedt and bring Pinto back up. Kind of giving up, trying to figure out exactly what's going on. I understand that, I understand kind of what they're doing of allowing Rortvedt and Jackson to kind of fight it out for the backup spot while Pinto works on stuff at the minor league level. And the reason they're doing that is because they need Jackson to see major league pitching. It doesn't really do Jackson any good to see minor league pitching anymore. So it's like if he's not seeing major league pitching, then he's not really developing at all. So I think eventually we're going to see Rortvedt get moved because Jackson is starting to pick it up at the plate. We'll eventually see Rortvedt get moved at some point this season. But it's nice that we're getting decent production from the catching position. And again, it's all relative. Like we're not expecting, as funny as it is, say Adley Rutschman, production when Rortvedt is above him in FWAR. Like we're not expecting that kind of offensive production. We just need like passable and then good defense. And that's really all the Rays need from the catcher. And I really agree with that philosophy offense of the Rays when it comes to catching. So it's all good.
Yeah, I'm with you. I mean, moving Rortvedt for Pinto would definitely add slightly more power into the lineup, maybe at the expense for some balls in play. But I think at this point, the team needs more power and less single slappers. So that would be the one adjustment I would probably make to the offense if I could, is like just go right. We need some guys that are just gonna hit the ball out, even if it's like with less consistency on the contact end. I think that's what we're kind of missing as a lineup right now. But at least while Randy is struggling and Josh Lowe is still kind of like not fully back, I would say, but he's still working things out.
Yeah, and I think you said a lot of things that kind of lead us into our last topic for today, which is kind of a little bit of a season outlook. So before we talk about all the stuff that we're not as happy about, because we're going to have to talk about that, let's talk about some of the stuff that is good that we're seeing. And a lot of it's coming from the minor league pitching staff. And that's because Shane Baz had another really nice start this weekend. And Jeffrey Springs had his first start at AAA, where he went just an inning, or it was 2 innings and didn't allow any runs, a couple strikeouts, looked really dominant, only 18 pitches to get through 2 innings, looked really good. We expect him to be back mid-July. Taylor Walls obviously is back now and has kind of seemed to be fully, back with the team, fully recovered. Doesn't seem to like he's a little rusty, but it's kind of seems like he's knocked most of it off and seems to be kind of what he
showed
has been.
His glove definitely still works. He showed that in the series finale against the Cubs.
Phenomenal. Like he's just elite with the glove. So the team is what it is as constructed, and we're gonna get those pitchers back very, very soon. So the question is, as we look at the outlook of this team, I'm gonna put it to you first, Pat. Do you think the team needs to make any moves, and how do you see the rest of June going?
Okay, so in terms of the rest of June, I think we've got as favorable as a schedule as we're gonna get. Really, we got the Twins, who are like direct competition for that third wild card spot, which is who you'd want to be facing. Pirates, they're a team that are still working things out a lot of the time, so you'd want to face them. The Mariners can be tricky. They're like top of quite a weak AL West right now, but they've got some good pitching, so we're gonna need to match that. But we're at home, so we can make it work. Then we got the Nats, who is a winnable series to end the month. I don't think there's a series coming up except maybe the Mariners that I'm scared of between now and the end of the month. So if we can win each of those series, that could put us right back in the mix, because currently 5.5 games out of the third wildcard spot. If we sweep the Twins, then we really move up the rankings. If we take 2 out of 3, that's still a game gained. And then it's just take another 2 out of 3. Maybe we gain another game. Maybe we take another 2 out of 3. Maybe we take another game. If we can get ourselves by the end of the month back to like 3 games out-ish, then it makes what to do after the All-Star break kind of a tough call to make. And that's all I really want us to be at right now, is where we're not like, yeah, we're definitely going to struggle to make enough progress in the last 2 months to still be in it. That's the one thing we can't do, is fall to double-digit games back by the All-Star break. That's the main thing we have to do, is not convince the front office to sell between now and then. And I think we're totally capable of doing that, given the schedule that we have, the lineup that we have, which is pretty much the full roster now. We just need to really have a couple of good weeks sooner rather than later. How are you feeling?
Yeah, I feel the exact same way. I think this is the time to turn it around. Everybody's back and healthy. Not only are they back and healthy, but they have I guess they've got a flu right now, but they'll get over that.
They're on the roster.
They're on the roster. Everybody's on the roster that's supposed to be on the roster, and everybody's been on the roster that's supposed to be on the roster for a couple of weeks now. So you've had some time to play together. You've had some time to kind of get back into things. This is the time to turn it around. They get an off day tomorrow after the end of this Braves series. They go play the Twins. They go play the Pirates. They get the Mariners at home, another off day, and then the Nationals. So they're playing 9 games in a row, which is not like a crazy amount. It's like it's not terrible in getting an off day and then playing 9 in a row, getting another off day. I think it could really allow Kevin Cash to kind of take the reins off on the bullpen a little bit. Like this would be a great stretch of games to say we're gonna win as much. We're gonna do everything we can to win every single one of these games. We're gonna be aggressive in these. I don't have any like knowledge or insight on this from like what he's actually going to do. But if it's me, I'm like, this is it. This is a spot to really go for it. To take no holds barred. We're going to do everything we can to win these 9 games right here, and then the national series at home on a weekend looks like that's a very favorable outlook for a series. But those 9 games is what I'm really targeting. Like I think we need to go 6-3, 7-2 over these 9 games, and I think if we could do that, this season is going to be back on track. If we go around 500 or like 5-4, like that's where it's like. That would be disappointing to me, because this is an opportunity spot right here to move things back in the right direction. And then if you can do that, if you can get through that, and then maybe win the series against the Nationals, maybe a sweep, who knows? You win that series against the Nationals, all of a sudden you're in July, Boz is back, Springs is on his way. All of a sudden now you've got reinforcements from the starting pitching. You can make whatever marginal moves you need to at the trade deadline and try to go on a run. If you go 5-4 or you have a losing record over this last month of June, that's when I think, I'm not going to say sell, but you may look to do a 2018 race deadline where they kind of just retooled it a little bit. They moved a couple guys. They brought in some veterans as well. I think that's kind of the deadline we could see if they don't get their act together. We may see something like that anyway. I think one name that I'm starting to like, I haven't heard anything, but this is just my theory of like what could happen. Look to hear Jason Adams' name in trade talks over the next month, because he's a good reliever with good numbers. He hasn't pitched a whole lot of innings yet this year. He could be really valuable to someone down the stretch. I think the Rays could get a really nice top 20 prospect from some team that's really desperate. And they have enough guys in their pitching, silo. Somebody can move to the bullpen or whatever to, cover for his loss if we move on from him. So I think that's one that I'm kind of keeping my eye on, is like he could get moved. Not because I want him to, or because I think he's bad. Like I'd love to keep him. He's really, really good. But he's got great value right now. And I think a team could take a flyer on him and be willing to give up a high prospect and really overpay for him because they need good pitching. And he's not a guy that the Rays cannot afford to lose, really.
Yeah, I agree. The Rays are a proactive organization. They're always on the phone. They're always listening. They're always talking. They're always fielding things. But like you said, there comes a point where, and I think it's no secret that pretty much every team does a proper look at themselves around the All-Star break and go, right, what are we doing this trade deadline, if anything? Are we good enough to make a run? Should we take a step back or take a step sideways and like rejig things and like kind of focus on next year? People say that you know, you can kind of mess around until August, but I disagree, because you need to be in a position where the organization thinks they can get to the playoffs come the All-Star break. Otherwise, they're going to take a step back or a step sideways and not try and make the team better in the short term for that particular year. We're in danger of losing that opportunity. So, like you said, the Rays need to put on a 6-3. And if they go 5-4 or 4-5, then they're just going to, it's unlikely that they believe as an organization it's worth getting rid of valuable assets in the minor league system to get better for this year, when it's not really a high probability that you'd make the playoffs.
Now, here's the one. No, go ahead.
Oh, go on. But I agree that if we're not there, Jason Adam is a really good idea, or a good valuable piece that could be moved. I also think Ahmed Rosario as well as a name to look at, because if the Yankees thought he was worth paying triple the amount the Rays paid for him, and that was before he played well with the Rays this year, so he's probably raised his value even more so than that. I don't think he's going to get like a massive return, because he's only on a 1-year deal and therefore a rental, but he's definitely like something you could get a return for. And there will be a team that will want a guy with his contact ability, speed, and utility to kind of shore up the bench. Like a team like the Dodgers would love that on their bench. A team like the Phillies might like that on their bench. So he's a guy that has a bit of value as well. Sorry, I'll let you give your point.
Yeah, well, the Rosie point's really good, because if you do trade him, then you can you have guys that are at the minor league level that could come up, whether it's Mead or Caminero when he gets healthy, or Ronda. Like, there's guys that could, make that move up. What I was gonna say is, we're talking about retooling, making some moves marginally here to maybe not like go for it all the way. What the Rays are not gonna do, and what a lot of people are saying they're gonna do, is like hardcore sell. Like, that's just not going to happen. That's not the way the Rays operate. Despite what you may think, because like of the reputation they have, they're not going to just trade Isaac Paredes and Randy Rosarina and Zach Eflin and Pete Fairbanks and just blow it up. Like, that's just not going to happen, especially because when you look at the starting rotation they're going to have available and the prospects that are going to have another year in development next year: Shane McClanahan, Springs, Rasmussen, Bradley, Pepio, just to name a few from the starting perspective. You got all the guys we've got right now, plus Junior with another year, Carson Williams with another year, Xavier Isaac starting to move his way up, Chandler Simpson. Like, there is no universe where the Rays are going to say, well, we're just going to blow it up. Like, no. Next year is going to be it's going to be a stacked roster, assuming everybody stays healthy, that it's going to be a stacked team. So they're not just going to trade away all the pieces at the edges of the roster they need to formulate that like perfect team. They're not just going to trade away Pete Fairbanks or Randy Rosarina or Zach Eflin or whatever, just because, unless because the Rays listen on everybody, unless they get massive overpays, because we saw that. And this isn't a massive overpay, but you look at what they got for Tyler Glasnow. It's kind of a funny week to say it, because DeLuca's been kind of bad and Pepio just got lit up.
Or maybe Chris Archer is a good example.
Chris Archer, like, that is the scenario where you would trade a guy like that, is if we're going to get a massive overpay of really, really good prospects that the Rays really like. They're not just going to move guys for like a rule draft. Like, that's not what's going to happen. Like, if they're gonna trade guys, it's gonna be top prospects.
The thing is, I think there is a world where an overpay comes in for someone like Randy.
It's possible. It is possible, because the Rays listen to everybody.
I don't think they'd trade him for peanuts. I don't think they'd be like, right, we got to get Randy off the roster, because who are they making room for in the outfield? We don't really have any outfield guys coming up. But just because he's a name brand, he's probably the closest thing the Rays have to a name brand player, right? Even though he's underperformed, there'll be teams that can go, hey, maybe he just gets a change of scenery. You know what he does in the playoffs, whether or not you buy into that kind of narrative or not. They're like, hey, he's a guy that does it in the playoffs. Maybe we need him as a guy to be our fourth outfielder DH kind of guy for the stretch. Or if, I don't know, let's say a really good team like the Yankees, Alex Verdugo gets. We're probably not going to trade a Rosarena to the Yankees, and I think I would do unquestionable things. But let's say if Alex Verdugo got hurt just before the trade deadline, maybe the Yankees would go, "Hey, maybe we could do like a guy like Randy Rosarena to fill that void," you know?
Yeah.
But they would have to overpay, and teams are getting less and less overpay happy because organizations are getting smarter. But you never know. We need to avoid this conversation going any further by the Rays having a good week and good end to June, so we don't have to discuss potentially selling any kind of piece at the deadline.
And I want to make it clear, I'm not predicting what the Rays are going to do. I'm just telling you what I think they should do and what they need to do to move, up any, because I don't predict the Rays to do anything anymore because they always do the opposite of whatever I predict. But that's what they need to turn the season around, and they do have the opportunity. So I think that's kind of the outlook right now. It's been a little it's been a little frustrating to watch, but there is still hope. I'm not giving up on this team yet. I'm just not.
No. Can I just let you answer this, just because people will be thinking about it, and people on other radio sites that will remain unnamed that are used to these kind of takes will ask this question. Brandon Lau, he might have a bit of value, and he's got a $10 million option next year. I don't know if the Rays want to pay $10 million for Brandon Lau. Maybe he's a guy that you need to get out of here. I mean, after all, it'll make room for Junior Caminero to maybe get a run at second base, maybe Curtis Mead. Maybe we got to get Brandon Lau off the team because he's not very clutch.
Yeah, if you want to, if you feel like getting rid of the guy who over the last, I think I did the numbers, was like the last 4 years is a top 10 WRC plus with runners in scoring position. I think it was like a 150 WRC plus with runners in scoring position. The heart of the lineup, the most dangerous bat on the team, the guy that is consistently pitched around by every organization, provides lineup protection for every single person, including a young junior when he eventually comes up. If you want to get rid of that guy, then yeah, if you just would like to just make your team worse for no reason whatsoever, especially considering that his $10 million option next year is comically underpaid for the value he can provide, then sure, go ahead. But I think that we all know the Rays are a little bit smarter than that. Will he get traded? And am I going to say 100% no? No, because if somebody gives the Rays a really, really good offer, then they might do it. But it's going to have to be a really, really good offer. The Rays pick up the phone on everybody, but they need to hear good stuff come through that phone before they take any deals. Just because I think people think that just because they listen on everybody means that they're like going to trade everybody. It doesn't. It just means that they are always willing to see what you are willing to give them for their players. They know the value of their guys. They're very confident in their evaluations. If you give them an offer that's under their value, they're just going to hang up the phone. But they're always going to take the call. So while will they take calls on Brandon Lau? Absolutely. Will they trade him for anything less than his true value? No. And they shouldn't, because he is a vital part of this team. I don't care what you like, what batting average stat you give me. Over the last 4 years, he is a top 10 clutch guy in all of baseball. Clearly the top guy on the Rays when it comes to the clutch. He is that guy. You do not want to move off a guy like that.
This might have seemed like me being a straw man and like softballing you. But there are real people that have these takes about.
Allegedly real people.
So supposedly real people. And, they're also the same kind of Kevin Cash crowd. And and I just want to say, like, if you thought I sounded stupid, or if you thought that I was like straw manning your legitimate argument, like you actually have those takes and you're like, well, Pat just did a really bad job articulating my argument. I don't think I am. I think I'm putting my argument as you put it. I gave legitimate points, but it was that easy to kind of take apart by Zach. It was a little too easy. So, like, if you are ever having an intrusive thought, and trust me, we all have intrusive thoughts of like, oh, this Rays team sucks. Like, I wish Randy would just hit better. Or like, oh man, Jose Siri bobbled a ball get him off my team. Like, we have these intrusive thoughts because we're emotional people, and in the moment it's easy to get cross when things don't work out as they're supposed to. But I really, really encourage people to give their heads a wobble and really consider stuff before making crazy statements on live radio. And also, I've found a great opinion that if you've got a safe space group chat, use it. Don't put a bad opinion into a public forum unless you properly thought it through. Like, tweet about it tomorrow once you've had a think about it, or talk about it the next day on morning radio after you've slept on it, because otherwise you're gonna look silly. And the Rays have the smartest fans in baseball. I know all of you are the smartest fans in baseball. You just got to sometimes, like, think about it a little bit more. And I know how smart you are because you watch the Rays and you love the Rays. So we all got to work together here.
And if you guys have a different opinion, if you think differently, let us know. Drop a comment. Send me a DM. I don't care. Let us know if you have a different opinion. I'd be happy to talk through it with you. We'd love to hear from you guys and see what you think. If you think that, like, we're completely out of left field and totally wrong on what the Rays need to do to be successful, or you think the Rays should just punt, or you think the same way as us, let us know in the comments. Shoot us a comment on the video on Twitter, whatever you want to do. And if you've come through to the end and watch with us, thank you for doing that. If you would do us a huge favor, that would help us out a lot, something that's free to do, just that would help us out a bunch if you've enjoyed the show. Just give us a like if you're watching on YouTube, subscribe if you're watching on YouTube. If you're on Twitter, drop a like, follow it. And most important thing you could do besides following is retweeting, sharing it, if it's on YouTube or Spotify, whatever. Just share it around to somebody that you think might enjoy it. If you enjoyed, if you know someone else who might enjoy it, share it out there, because we love doing this with you guys, and we just love to do it with more people because we enjoy, being able to talk about the Rays, and we'd love for you guys to talk with us. So if you've got opinions, if you've got thoughts, feelings on all the things we're talking about, let us know, and we'll talk about it on the show.
Yeah, tell your friends, be like, oh man, I love the Rays, but I just, I could just do with hearing about two really smart and handsome people talking about it. Then you could be like, oh, well, just go to RBLR because those guys know what they're on about. And I know you support, because you're loyal to Tampa, you support the Bucks, Lightning, and Rowdies too, because you're a Tampa for life guy.
I definitely do that too. Mm-hmm.
Then they got you covered there as well with a bunch of good podcasts. And I'm sure the All-Star break is coming up. We might have some fun stuff planned for over the All-Star break. And we're going to continue to try and give you the best Rays content out there. So be sure you're on the ride with us by following and subscribing and liking and telling all your friends, so we can all be one big Rays community.
One big Rays community. Thank you all for sitting through and joining us on another episode of the RBLR Rays podcast. Enjoy the game today. It's just about to get started. Hope the Rays have a really good week, and we'll talk about it next week. And for now, Rays up.
Rays up. It's coming home.
Thank you for tuning into this presentation by RBLR Sports. On your way out of the stadium, please remember to like and subscribe.